I never really admitted this to people, but back then when I was younger and I would do all these designer clothes that I thought were cool that you know, were like what the in-crowd were wearing, I always felt awkward.
We have to ask ourselves, why am I wearing this? Am I wearing it to hide? Or am I wearing it because it aligns with who I am and it's giving me comfort of some sort? Hi everyone, welcome to Psychoffashion. We focus on what we wear, why we wear it, and how it impacts us. I have an awesome guest with me today, Jason. Jason is the host of the First Class, Second Place podcast, where he takes a deep dive into life. And today he's here to talk with us about self-esteem, body image, and of course, fashion. Welcome, Jason.
Wow, Nora, thank you for having me. I really appreciate
Yes,
this.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Yes.
So to kind of wrap how things work in full circle, I was a guest on your podcast.
Yes, that is correct.
The first podcast I ever did.
Yep.
And today for Psychoffashion, this is the first podcast we're doing here today. And you're my first guest, so awesome.
I am completely honored. I really appreciate this. And I had such a blast talking to you on my show, where everybody can now watch on streaming platforms, all streaming platforms at First Class, Second Place. And yeah, I'm just glad that we were able to remake the connection from back then to now. And I love it. I love seeing the progression.
Obviously, we have a connection. At one point, you were my student at a college, but back in the days, I mean, I don't even know how long ago, but it wasn't that long. To me, I feel like it wasn't that long ago, but yes, so much time has gone by, so it has been some time.
I'm definitely a much different person now than I was back then, for sure. So.
Well, you're very curious, and you were still young. You were still kind of, analyzing, discovering the world, and asking a lot of questions. So
Very true.
And now we're here. All right, so share with us a little about yourself. We're here to talk about self-esteem, body image. You're like and obviously, for the guests watching, he's a male, which male really rarely ever talk about these issues. So that's why I thought it was really important for that aspect to kind of start with a strong episode, a male talking about self-esteem, body image. So tell us your struggles with that and what you've been talking about on your podcast as it relates to this.
Yeah, so thank you for asking me, by the way. So I've always pretty much had self-esteem issues and body issues, and imposter syndrome for many, many years. I'm the first child of three. I'm the oldest of three.
Okay.
And, I think it doesn't get talked about enough, but it does come along with the fact that when you're the oldest of siblings, you're going to make a whole lot of mistakes. You're going to experience a lot of things firsthand, and the other siblings behind you are going to learn from your mistakes and so on and so forth. And then they could, thrive off of that, for lack of a better term. When you're just kind of jumping head into it first, you're making all the mistakes in the world, you're doing this, you're doing that, for some better, for some worse,
right.
And it just depends on your perspective and how you are able to take it. I come from a Hispanic family. I'm Colombian and Costa Rican, so there's always that stigma of Hispanics where, especially in that era, where we were not allowed to talk about our feelings, especially men. We're tougher than that. We've been through so much that, you can't have that kind of weak mentality, this, that, and the third. And there have been plenty of times in my life where I would try to speak to somebody, especially in my immediate family, and they'll be like, so? Toughen up, grow up, man up, shut up, all that stuff. And
suck it up, be a man.
Exactly, and I followed that for quite some time, for many, many years actually, and slowly but surely I started seeing that it was bottling up my emotions, and then eventually a person will implode, as I did, and then I had to recalibrate and figure out a whole bunch of stuff in my life, and it wasn't until I realized that after my father had passed away, where there's just, as the cold hard truth sometimes is that even though people are your family, sometimes they're not always the right fit for you at times, or maybe
absolutely,
like there's always going to be a lot of crazy mixtures and chemistry there. And so, unfortunately, my father's no longer with us, but one of the most controversial things, that I would say is that when he was no longer with us, I felt like my life had become a lot less stressful because of all the pressure that was put on me and all the things that I had to live up to, and so on and so forth.
So when can you think of the first time you actually started feeling this, when you were young? You were saying obviously you're the oldest of 3 kids.
Yeah.
I'm also the oldest of 3 kids, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the pressure. I mean, for me, I know from my perspective or from my upbringing, I wasn't allowed to do anything. But then my brother and my sister got to do everything. So I guess the parents, you're like the trial child.
Exactly.
So
yes.
How soon or how early on did you start remembering, thinking about, okay, I'm struggling with self-esteem, or how you felt when you were given this advice, suck it up, don't deal with it?
Well, it really all started out because I was born and raised here in Jersey, but when my parents split up and the divorce was finalized, my mother moved me and my siblings down to Florida. And when I moved down to Florida, it was like a culture shock and everything was different. It's like I had to start all over. And I think that was really the beginning of my depression, because I I had to suck it up while having to deal with a whole new life that I was not used to. It was almost like starting all over again when I didn't even ask to start all over. And I vividly remember that was around the time, because growing up as a kid, I was like really, really skinny. I was very athletic. I was always outdoors and everything. But then when we moved down there and me dealing with depression and a whole bunch of other stuff and not being happy, that's when I started to really indulge more in food and not wanting to go out more and not being as active. And it led to my body transformation of being a little bit of a bigger guy, and not in a good way. And ever since then, it's kind of been of a struggle. I think a lot of it is mental just as it is physical. But yeah, that's the earliest memory that I can remember where I started taking care less and less of my body. And then as I got older, I started drinking, smoking cigarettes, the whole nine. And I'm 39 years old now, and my father did pass away of a heart attack about 8 years ago. But ever since then, I've been trying to make a more conscious effort of taking care of my body. Like, I don't really smoke anymore. I only drink here and there. I try to get hydration and enough sleep as I can, have a better sleep pattern, and be more mindful of what I put in my body. You know, not so much of this junk food that we're so used to and accustomed to. I cut out sugar as much as I can from my diet. And long story short, I'm trying to be in shape for health reasons, not so much vain reasons.
Got it. Well, I always say a little vanity is okay if you want to look good, as long as you don't let that take over, where that's the only reason you're doing it.
Well, that was my mentality back then. For me, it was just for vain reasons. Now, I wasn't even considering, you know, the complications and the consequences that my body could face as I get older. So. Well,
you talk a lot about your father. Mm-hmm. Take me back to the time. How did you see him kind of regulating his emotions? How did you see him dealing with eating? Like, what are the messages you got, essentially?
My father was a little bit hypocritical because, ironically, he owned a health food store for 12 years where there was a lot of products that were gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, whole for people the way that people try to live lifestyles now. He was kind of on that wave before it was really popular, but his lifestyle couldn't have been more different from that. Like, he was a cigarette smoker at one point. He did drink very often. Didn't always have the best diet and the best eating habits. Didn't get a lot of sleep. And you know, this is also a person who suffered from not having a father in his life. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I didn't have a grandfather on that side. And he basically had to learn everything on the go. And I don't think that he was ever a person that was in touch with his emotions or anybody to guide him in that way. So him trying to teach a son, myself and my brother, these kind of things, it was a little bit tough for him to do. He did the best that he could, but I wouldn't give him an A+ either.
Well, it sounds he struggled. It sounds like he had his own struggles.
Absolutely.
There's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score. Mm-hmm. And it talks about how certain traumas are passed down and your body literally hangs on to it. Yeah. Because everything, the whole ecosystem, obviously we're all connected. What we eat, our past traumas and how we carry them on, right? And how things get passed on from one generation to the next. But it sounds like he had his own trauma that was definitely not dealt with. And then here you are now lifting the burden of trying to like navigate your own life, but also dealing with the past traumas of his past.
Correct.
If that makes any sense.
It makes all the sense in the world, because he was definitely a person that was the epitome of, you know, not talking about your feelings and just doing it, you know, just bottling up and also not taking accountability, you know. And it's really weird how sometimes you see how other people operate and it's almost like you're kind of following in their footsteps, but you're a little bit more aware. So then you kind of look at what they've gone through or what they do and be that as a lesson to not do that.
Right.
So we talked about before how I'm the oldest of three, and there was nobody really there to teach me. But then as I got older, I basically learned not to do some of the things that my father did. So it was almost like a big brother complex in a way.
Yeah. Well, how are your siblings now? Like, do you see they have the same struggles as you or different struggles?
No, I've always said that I've been the black sheep of the family because there's a lot of synchronicity between that side of the family, and I'm kind of a little bit cast out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, I don't have any connection with him or anything. It's just that the chemistry is kind of weird. Like, there's a lot of things that we don't agree on and vibe with, and sometimes I wonder if I'm even adopted at this point.
Right. Well, it's interesting because even if you're raised in the same household, everybody gets different parents.
Sure.
You know, you can get the parent who's very super strict with some people, and the parent who's like super easygoing with the other siblings. So you're like, I have two different experiences, but yet you're in the same environment. Mm-hmm. So it's always interesting to see how that navigates. So you talked about imploding. Walk me through what that process was like. Like, what did that mean to you? How did you notice it, and how did you navigate it?
I didn't notice it until much after the fact. I won't get into specifics, but it was one of those things where I was around a group of my friends and we were on vacation, and we're in one of the most beautiful places in the world that has to offer, and yet here I am bringing my problems from the real world here and taking that on everybody. And one of the things that was really kind of jarring for me is that I noticed that it was following kind of like the same pattern as my dad would. Like I would always wonder, like, yo, we're having a great time, we're with great people, why do you have to act like such a jerk and with everybody? And is it because you're trying to show off that you're the ish or whatever, or you're the boss man because that's how you want people to view you?
Yeah.
So I saw myself kind of heading in that direction, but I'm very fortunate enough that I have enough awareness in my life.
Yeah, it sounds like it for sure.
And I stopped, and I was like, holy crap! I mean, this is like, it almost feels like deja vu. I'm almost following in the footsteps. And so I had to take a step back and basically do the work myself. I think one of the things that I didn't have a lot of when I was growing up was accountability. I would always try to blame other people and other things for the reasons why things were not going my way, and not look at myself in the mirror. And then when it came time I think, long story short, I think when it came time to not find anybody else or think of anything else that could, take the blame, there was only one direction left to, put all the blame on, and it was myself. Right. So when you have that implosion and then you alienate a lot of people and a lot of things in your life, you're basically left with yourself and your own devices, and you have no choice but to reflect. So that's what happened to me. And as rough as it was, I don't take it back, because I don't think that it would have prepared me and made me the person that I am today, which it took me a long time to say it and admit it to myself. But I am very proud of myself these last couple of years and the progress that I've done and helping others as well.
Right. Well, I think what you're describing here is called the external locus of control. It's like everyone but me, right? It's everybody doing everything, but not looking at my own behavior, not looking at what I'm doing and contributing to the problem. I think one of the key things is looking for patterns, right? So as soon as you see patterns in something, then you're like, okay, because I have this pattern of responding this way. And it sounds like you're almost not giving or allowing yourself to experience joy. Like you're in a nice place, but all you could think about is reacting negatively. So it's like you didn't give yourself permission to enjoy the vacation or where you were at. And I wonder, what that has to, obviously, I won't get into like specifics with your father, but I'm sure it has something to do with that in terms of why.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't deserve to enjoy it because you're carrying the burden of what happened to your father.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So you mentioned you come from Hispanic culture. I come from Middle Eastern culture. I know there's so much emphasis placed around food.
Yes.
Like I know when I would be back in Syria, and even here, I guess, when you go to somebody's house and we call it an azima, which is an invite, and obviously there's like a buffet of foods. They will be offended if you don't take something they offer you. So let's just say I serve myself. Let's just say I serve myself rice, I serve myself chicken, but they will be offended if you did not take something extra or more chicken or more rice. So they'll just take it upon themselves to add it right onto your plate. And if you don't eat it, then it's like you're being disrespectful and you're being rude. So I'm wondering, did you kind of have a similar experience in the Hispanic community when it comes to that? Like, is food kind of being forced on your plate?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, I would say that, and I'll add on to that if you don't, whatever you got is what you got. And if you didn't eat it, not only would it be a sign of disrespect, but then you would also go hungry.
All right, so scarcity?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, like growing up, it's like, remember, I think I talked about this on your podcast. Back home, when we went, every day we were visiting somebody. So like every day, we weren't actually seeing Syria. We were going from one house to the following house. It's because there's so many invites, and I have 11 aunts and uncles. Well, it's 11 aunts and 2 uncles.
Gotcha.
So 11 kids under my mom's household. And the abundance of food and how offended they would get if you didn't accept like the extra food. They would get so offended. And they would say, Wallah, you have to eat this. Wallah, meaning I swear you must eat this. I swear you must eat this. And you're like, dude, I'm like literally stuffed. And I think that was my own struggles also with food, because I have this like constant, I mean, I guess I still have it as an adult, honestly. Like I always obsess over food, and in terms of like, is it healthy? Why does it look like this? Or I want to put it in my body. And then sometimes I will put it on my body knowing I'm going to get sick. And then the whole process starts again. I feel guilty over eating that. Why did I allow myself to go through this?
Yeah.
Why did I put my body through that? And then once it, once it's over, I start over again and I do the same thing.
Right.
So it's like a forever thing almost. It's like you're stuck with it. You have to learn how to just to manage it in a way.
And to add to that as well, if you didn't finish your entire plate, then that was like a big no-no. You know, you could be full, you could be satiated, but you still have a good amount of food left on your plate. And if you don't eat it all, you know, you're giving that whole spiel about it's being disrespectful, and think about all the starving kids all over the world.
Yeah.
So like there will be, for years and years, I would still continue to, you know, for lack of a better term, stuff my face, even though I was full and satiated, because I needed to clear off my plate. And I saw that that was still following me even in adulthood, where I feel like I'm full, I don't need to go anymore, but I have to finish my food. And also, like, there's other ways that it'll affect you as well. Like, one of the things that I noticed that somebody pointed out to me actually was, why didn't I take my time? Like, I was scarfing it down like I was, like it was, you know, like I had to be in a rush or go somewhere and not really enjoy it.
Well, that is a whole American culture thing.
That too, yeah.
That totally is an American culture thing. We have to rush because what do you get, like a 30-minute? I know when I used to work in retail back in the days, you would get like a 20-minute or 30-minute break. So you had to stuff your face in that little small time to walk to get the food, to walk back, be able to eat, and then use the bathroom, whatever you have to do. But you literally had that little time to eat what you had to eat.
Right.
So we weren't taught, essentially, like it takes the brain 15 to 20 minutes for it to get the signal that you're full. So because we have that limited time, right? Say you're scarfing down food in 10 minutes. So you eat as much food as you can, which is what typically happens here. And then 20 minutes goes by, your brain is like, oh my God, what have you done? And now you start feeling like, oh my God, I need to take a nap. I need to lay down. What have I just done to myself? So I think that kind of connection with the clock and food definitely, I feel like, isn't ingrained in our society. We're just taught to indulge in the food that you want to eat. And everything obviously is bad for you here. And I feel like we're going over another topic now in terms of what foods are available in the U.S., but it definitely plays a major role in that messaging that we get about food.
Yeah, and also to add one more thing to that, as I mentioned, you know, I've been an on and off smoker since I was 16 years old, and there will be times where I would no longer be smoking cigarettes, and yet I would pack on the pounds because I would have an oral fixation.
Yeah.
You know, because if I don't have a cigarette or something to smoke in my hand or in my mouth, then I'm going to compensate it for snacks, you know, salty, starchy, sugary food, a lot of soda, that kind of stuff, just because you're not even really hungry. It's because you have that oral fixation and you need something to satiate that craving that you have of a cigarette. No. So that was also a big habit for me to break, because there'll be a lot of times where I would stop smoking, but then afterwards I would gain like 10 pounds, put it on, put it back off, because I just can't stop eating, even though I'm not hungry. And then I'll be like, well, I might as well just go back to smoking. And it's just a full circle all over again.
Do you remember, I don't know if like back in the days, the whole smoking thing, like I remember seeing ads for like the Camel cigarettes.
Yes.
Everywhere I went.
Yes.
So it was kind of like the messaging, we were programmed to like want cigarettes. And then I remember when the movement started, because you're like me, you're a millennial. We used to go to restaurants and you used to sit in a smoking section or non-smoking section. Remember that?
I even remember that on airplanes.
Yes, on airplanes. Oh my God, yes. That's so crazy. Now I cannot function. Like I could never I can't sit in any space that has smoke. Before I used to, even though I never smoked, but let's say my friends smoked, we would sit in a smoking section, and I had to just suck it up because we're hanging out with friends. But now I can't. I cannot deal with any type of cigarette, like cigarette smoke, shisha, which is very popular in my culture. I mean, now if you ever go to restaurants and like anywhere down in Patterson. Actually, I think even like Spanish people now are doing it too, like the whole shisha.
Are you talking about hookah?
Yeah, or you call it hookah. In Arabic, we call it shisha.
See, you learn everything.
Yeah,
you learn something new every day.
But it is the hookah, yes. And that's like equivalent to like 30 packs of cigarettes in like one sitting. Like how insane. And
during the pandemic, I was doing it nearly every day.
Yeah, so it's so crazy. Like the whole, I feel generally speaking, less people smoke today. Even though more people do hookah, if that makes any sense and how these two are correlated. But I still remember the movement, and when I started seeing ads on MTV, how saying smoking is bad for you. You know, smoking takes off X amount of years off your life. And I remember being a kid, I'm like, oh wow, smoking is bad, because I never knew. I literally never knew.
To me, it was the norm.
It was the norm, absolutely. And I'll never forget the Camel. The picture of the Camel cigarettes literally all over town.
And I wouldn't even need commercials. Like, I also grew up in an environment where, like, you know, going back to my father again, he had his soccer buddies. And every Sunday, they would always go play soccer. And then when they would finish playing soccer, they would go to the bar, and a lot of them were drinking beers and smoking cigarettes. It was just everyday Sunday life for us. You know, that was what I was used to. That was our church, for lack of a better term.
So crazy. Now, going back to the whole body image thing, I mean, obviously we know through the cigarettes, thank God it's not the norm. And thank God when we go to restaurants now, you don't have to deal with that unless you like willingly go to a restaurant to do hookah, which, I'm not doing. I'm totally not doing that. But have you ever did you start seeing a professional in regards to these issues that you were having with self-esteem and body image? Like, did you actually speak with somebody or did you navigate them by yourself?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I don't think I sought any professional help, but I was able to surround myself around the right people and also finally learn to listening to myself and my body, realizing that, hey, some of the things that I'm thinking may actually be the right things to say and do, as opposed to, self-doubting yourself or overthinking. And, it's all about just life experiences. I've been very fortunate to have the self-awareness enough to trust myself a little bit more than I really have, give myself a little more credit than I ever really had, and to eradicate the people that don't really bring any value to my life and cherish the ones that have brought value to my life. And it doesn't even need to be a big circle. Like, I'm good with just 2 or 3 friends and I could conquer the world, I feel. That's all I need.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because there's a study being done. It's still being done to this day, and I think it started in 1930, 1938. Don't quote me on the year. But they followed individuals literally for their entire life, every milestone, marriages, divorce, college graduations, having kids, having grandkids. And they were essentially researchers were after, like, what makes people happy, right? That's like the question, what makes people happy? And we often attribute happiness to money. And by the way, I'm not against, I'm not against money.
Right.
But I know money doesn't give you happiness, but definitely solves a whole lot of problems for you if you have money versus when you don't have money, right?
I always like to say money can't buy happiness, but it could certainly rent it for a couple of months.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or like how they say, the saying goes, would you rather cry in a Honda or would you rather cry in a Bentley?
Yeah.
Those superficial sayings we say.
Right.
But in any event, so society often tells us the more you have houses and nice cars, the more, and that's what leads us to happiness. But in reality, what these researchers are finding from this, this research they're doing, they're following these people around, is meaning makes people happy. When you have meaning, when you have purpose. So you're talking about relationships, obviously, that add value to your life. And I think definitely for 2025, that has kind of been the momentum that the U.S. is moving towards. And that we are seeking more authenticity, more alignment, more purpose. So, and again, I don't know if it's like because we're kind of like in an older millennial generation now, versus in the younger generation. But I think there has been a movement and a shift in that focusing on, yes, do these friends add value to your life? And are you also adding value to their life? Because it works both ways, right?
It has to be reciprocal, yes.
Exactly. So that's something to take away because we often, again, think that happiness is from having things, but actually it's not things, it's for meaningful relationships and meaningful connections. So it kind of hits spot on to what you're saying.
Yeah, and kind of tying into fashion a little bit, if we may.
I always talk about fashion. Let's talk about fashion.
So I remember growing up, and it was always about the Sean Johns and the Fat Farms and the Nietzsche's and so on and so forth. And then I don't know what kids are into nowadays.
Essentials, Fear of God.
I've seen those and stuff like that, but I personally don't own any of it because my mindset is more like it's not what you wear, it's how you wear it.
Right, yeah.
So
we talked about that.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been able to find things that fit me, and it makes me feel good, and in turn, it has actually emanated that emotion towards others, and they could see that I can actually, I'm comfortable being myself, so they can be comfortable around me. And I'll be honest, there was I never really admitted this to people, but back then when I was younger and I would do all these designer clothes that I thought were cool, that what the in crowd were wearing, I always felt awkward. Like why am I wearing this thing? Like, yeah, it's kind of nice, but I don't know if I feel comfortable wearing it. I was always good with just a regular white tee or black tee.
Right. Simple things, absolutely, keeping it simple. Yeah. But yeah, going back to the music videos, like I know when we were growing up, music videos were like a really, really big deal. They were like the mini movies, right?
Absolutely.
And that was like the social media that people are getting now 24/7. We got that like, oh my God, Diddy is about to release a video, or Mariah Carey's coming out with a new video. So you had to tap in to see what were the fashions, what were they wearing. And part of it, I remember the Sean Combs sweatsuit, the Rocawear.
For me, it was Jay-Z. I was a big Rocawear guy.
Right. So, and also, what is it? Baby fat. Fat for women. Remember? That was like the big thing.
They try to sell us at the time that you should be rocking Fat Farm while your lady is wearing baby fat and y'all can be a power couple.
Yes, that was it the Dons and Divas back in the days with Wendy Williams?
Yeah, I remember that.
It was insane. But yeah, we are told essentially like what fashion choices you should be wearing, right? And we're younger, we don't know any better. No one's really teaching us like, hey, learn to find what aligns with you. You know, something basic is totally okay too. You can still shine by, I don't know, you could talk about books that you've read, or you could talk about maybe something you're building or something you're creating versus kind of seeking validation through these things that really don't give you validation at the end of the
Right.
day.
And, you know, I still can't believe we still live in an era where people are going to be judging others by what they're wearing. Like, I'll give you an example to kind of contextualize it. So I was watching a podcast where it was featured Lord Jamar, who's one of the members of Brand Nubian, an old rap group. And he was wearing these things called the Mexican Jordans. And apparently they did research, and apparently Mexican Jordans are like the cheaper Jordans, the ones that you could find at like a Payless, or I don't even know if they exist anymore, but something like that. They're not exactly authentic. And this is a guy that's been considered a hip hop legend in many circles, and yet he was being ripped for whatever shoes that he was wearing. And I guess it must have affected him, because the following episode he came with real authentic Jordans.
Yeah, we're influenced. The pressure is on. And I guess you can tie it into the evolutionary theory of like the survival of the fittest. You do what everyone else is doing because that increases your chances of survival. Even though it's like ridiculous, a pair of shoes at the end of the day, who the hell cares?
I think a girl stopped talking to me because I was wearing a pair of K-Swiss.
Oh, really? But K-Swiss, they're so elegant, those shoes.
It depends on who you were around.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I would think like, I mean, they're a lot more European, I would think, K-Swiss. So.
I guess, I don't know.
But in any event, you mentioned Payless. Payless was kind of a big deal growing up, right? That's what like our moms took us to, and to like pick out 4 pair of shoes for like whatever, $30, $40. But did you ever the study that they did with Payless?
No, I did not.
Well, they set up this fake shop, right? And they made it totally luxurious, and they called it Palessi. And they invited these influencers. They literally, I swear to God, it's like, you could look this up. You could look, I'll link it here for if anyone wants to see this. But they invite these influencers, and they come in and they take the same Payless shoes, call them Palessis or whatever they called them, and they were charging now like $500, $300, $700, and you had these influencers buying them. And in the end, they interviewed them like, hey, what do you think about these shoes? They're like, oh, they're so elegant, they're so high end, they're so this, they're so that, and they're like, you know, they're Payless shoes, right? And they look, I mean, I don't want to say they look stupid, but yeah, they were just dumbfounded, like, what? Wow. But it's all psychological. It's like, it's not real. It's only literally your brain creating the illusion of it being real, but in reality, it's not real. It's just in your brain.
Right. And also to tie in the fashion and the whole body shaming thing, namely on my part, I think because I was always, you know, stuck with body dysmorphia, that also added to the fact of me wearing things that were designer brand, but I felt uncomfortable in, and it would affect me psychologically. I mean, I remember there was days where I would purposely, if I was wearing something nice, I would purposely not eat for an entire day just so I won't feel any bloatedness and feel discomfort, just to show off for everybody else. I was sacrificing my own comfort for everybody else's approval. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting too, because a lot of men don't talk about these things, and so many men struggle with body image, but because society doesn't allow them or give them that space to talk about these things, they don't talk about them, so they suffer in silence. And we're like taught again those messages like, suck it up, man, be a man, but like, what is your definition of a man?
Right. And at the same time, like, I've never been really chastised by anybody, specifically men, for being so honest and vulnerable and brutal on my platform and just in everyday life. So with that, as much as I appreciate that, I'm also of the mindset that, well, if nobody's really making fun of me or chastising me for saying this or that and being myself, then what is the harm in you doing the same as well? Because if you guys are okay with it and everybody else seems to be okay with it, why are you worried about being honest and vulnerable with yourself when you're probably going to be accepted the same way? It'll be reciprocal.
But do you think you would have been accepted had you been speaking about this when you were younger?
Probably not.
Yeah, see, I think that's one of the biggest issues, that you have young, well, boys and girls, right? Both of them are struggling.
I guess. Yeah.
And these companies are really good. I mean, they're geniuses at marketing. I mean, they're tapping into these kids' brain at a very, very young age. Obviously now social media, all these things. I mean, I remember back in the days, I think young boys would already start getting like free samples from Gillette, like already priming them. No, seriously, it's like it's all priming them that when they get older, they're going to be, this is what the product they're going to be using. And young girls, I think at as early as 6 years old now, they'll be able to recognize a brand like Gucci or Louis Vuitton, even though they might not even know how to spell it.
Wow.
How insane is that? So the priming is really happening at a young age. But I definitely think younger generation, they may not be open to talking about these issues the way we are as adults. Because I remember there's brain development. There's a lot of pressure, like obviously peer pressure is a major contributor to them doing whatever they're doing. Because they want to support, they want to be influenced by their peers because they want to appeal to their peers. They want to fit in.
From a psychological standpoint, I also find myself, even though I do wear a lot of dark colors, I feel like when I wear lighter colors, whether it's like a light blue or white or whatever, especially if I'm in an area where it's like necessary, like something tropical or something, but it definitely brings a little bit of a better mood out of me, I don't know what it is. I guess it's just I don't know the psychology behind it. You're a little bit more well-versed in it as well. But I think that's interesting how colors can actually really have a big effect on our psyche when it comes to fashion.
Absolutely it does, yeah. Well, I think the whole color thing, every color you wear is going to influence you either positively or negatively, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what it comes down to is you have to ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you wearing black? Like, obviously, we're both wearing black today. I happen to love black. Like, the majority of my wardrobe is all black.
Mm-hmm.
And I can wear black every single day for the rest of my life. It makes me happy. And I know for me, because I have such a strong and dominant personality, I feel like if I come in with bold colors, somebody might subconsciously be annoyed with me. So I think by keeping it classic, simple, I can shine with my personality versus shining through the clothes that I'm wearing, if that makes any sense, even though I'm still shining with black.
Right.
But I think there needs that balance. But I think when it comes to color, we have to ask ourselves, why am I wearing this? Am I wearing it to hide? Or am I wearing it because it aligns with who I am and it's giving me comfort in some sort? I think only you will know the answer to that.
But do you think it's a possibility that it could be both?
I mean, I think in some instances, absolutely.
Because you saying those options, I feel like I align with all three of them. I mean, yes, this speaks to my personality, and yes, I feel comfortable in it. But I also feel like it's also guarding me from my body dysmorphia. Because I feel like if I was wearing a white shirt right now, it would be I feel like the size of my torso and my abdomen would be 10 times than what it really is. Because
and on top of that, you're on camera, so it's going to add more weight.
Exactly.
And
with my own in my own head overthinking, it's going to be even more than that. It's going to be expanding, and it's going to make me uncomfortable, and it's going to make me self-conscious on how I'm going to look among your audience and my audience that is going to be watching this episode.
Well, I would think if you're wearing white on camera, then the purpose of you wearing white and not could trigger your body dysmorphia. But I think if you're wearing white on vacation, you're not going to really be thinking about that. But because we know here, obviously, we're on camera, this is going to be a forever recording, it'll be online. So that triggers that insecurity. So I think that's the reason I think you could probably attribute to why you're wearing white versus why you're wearing black.
Or even not this. It could be like at a social outing, like if I'm at a movie theater or a concert or whatever. So a place where I know it's going to be very public.
Where people are?
Yeah. Especially
so do you think wearing that around people essentially will give you anxiety?
Sometimes,
make you anxious, will then trigger the symptoms of the body dysmorphia.
I mean, you never know. Yeah, I mean, I think it all plays into it because, part of my mindset is like if I'm going to like an event or whatever, I'm not married, I don't have any children. What if I happen to meet the love of my life at this place that I'm going to, and yet I'm not looking my best?
Right.
I'm not saying that I have to stand out among everybody else, but I should stand out in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I think in black you're standing out, and on top of that, you have like amazing hair, which I know everybody compliments, right?
What's funny is that among my peers, I've been called to have the best hair in podcasting. I don't agree. I could name a couple others, but I'll take the compliment nonetheless.
No, but you have great hair, and think about how many the insecurity of men losing hair. That's like a big one with men too that they don't often talk about. And then they head to Turkey to have these surgeries to help to rectify the situation, which I'm totally for, by the way. I mean, I think if it makes you feel good at the end of the day, you should be able to do that because it's gonna make you present yourself in the best way. Why not?
The whole ironic thing is that my ancestors are Turkish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what? I think that's why I have. Even though I'm Hispanic, I think I have the features that kind of show off a little bit of Middle Eastern.
Yeah. Well, Middle Eastern and Spanish people were very much aligned. Well, it was the Ottoman Empire, right? They took over Spain, and then obviously everybody moved all over the place. And that's why even the Arabic and Spanish language, we have very similar language. Yeah. So we say bluse.
Yeah.
Say, baño.
There you see a lot of similarities, yeah.
So we say very similar, we have very similar words, and we're very connected, yeah.
And I am 39 years old. I'll be 40 in a couple of months, but I'm very fortunate and I'm very humbled to still have this head of hair at my age because I know guys even a little younger than me that are already starting to fall off.
All right. Well, I have two questions for you, and we're gonna. The second one is about your hair, but first, what message you have for young men who may come across this? What message do you have for them who are maybe dealing with the similar issues? Like, how should they navigate it?
Continue to be yourself. Just continue to be yourself, because I always believe that if you want to be if you want to be a legend in your own right, if you want to stand out, just be yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody is going to do you better than you do yourself.
Right. Nice advice. Second, tell us about your hair routine. We want to know what products are you using, how long it takes you to get done. You should do those videos, like, you know how those guys like blow it out and do all this funky stuff.
The thought has crossed my mind, and maybe I will do it. So, what I do is I get out of the shower, and then I don't pat or go like this on the top of my head. I actually just do it backwards, like a little bit of a slick back. I just keep on doing that for like 15 or 20 times, so it doesn't get all curly, because I have like naturally curly, wavy hair.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
So if I don't put any conditioner on anything, it's gonna be like frizzy all over the place. So then afterwards, I wet it with sea salt spray.
Interesting.
I was told to use sea salt spray, so that's what I use. And then I would blow dry it and style it in the way that I want to. And I would do a little bit of a mixture of leave-in conditioner and pomade, which I like. The one that I like to use is from Old Spice, or sometimes I use wax.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I just style it up the way I do. I comb it and then just kind of air dry it the rest of the way. And then boom, I'm out the door.
Well, that's a very interesting process. Yeah, I'm sure people are going to be able to benefit from that whole routine.
I hope so.
Now the popular, I think, what is it? The popular hair among men is the textured fringe.
I think so, yeah.
I think that's what everybody's like going for now, which
or
is
the
like
pompadour, whatever.
I think so. I don't know how it works, but But I love that for men. Honestly, think about like men never had that space. You just went, you got a traditional haircut, and you moved on about your day.
Yeah.
Now you have products, you have different options, you have a routine. Yep. And I totally think I'm going to encourage you to start like doing videos.
Yeah, we'll see.
Of your hair routine. Just like, I want to see the blowout. I want to see the comb, like just perfection.
Yeah. And also to piggyback on what we were talking about earlier, as far as like discomfort with your body and everything, or feel like you should follow a trend. When I was your student, and basically all of my 20s, even into my early 30s, I always had a buzz cut. Like I always cut my hair really, really short. One, because it was just easier to maintain, and two, because I thought it would make me look cooler, because I was so into hip hop and the culture and everything, and I felt like this is what I had to do in order to, fit in. Right. And also back then I was wearing earrings, and when I started to let my hair grow out, I realized that I didn't like the combination of my longer hair and my earrings, so I just took them off. But I say that to say all this. I feel like definitely during that time I was hindering myself in my appearance and being comfortable in how I want to look and how I should look, instead of following what everybody else thought I should. And once I started following that, I couldn't have been happier. And I'm actually very glad that I'm still able to accomplish this and still have this head of hair at my age, because I could have started growing my hair out and it could have been already falling out when I was still doing the buzz cuts and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you took good care of it, so may it last forever.
Thank you.
Okay, let's send some good juju your way. Yeah. Instead of maybe, hey, listen, people may hate. But you see, I guess we bring it back around where we may feel uncomfortable about certain things, but somebody could look at you and they're actually not even focusing about your weight. They're focusing on like, he has great hair, and what the hell is he doing to get that hair? Because I want that
possible,
hair.
Yeah.
So see, we always have something, I guess, that we can be grateful for and know that we can inspire other people to have too.
Yeah, I've certainly made progress, but I feel like there's always going to be a lot more work to do. But it's fine, because I think the best project you could ever work on is yourself.
Right. Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think overall with the whole weight loss thing, I mean, like let's say, for example, remember the show, what was it? The Biggest Loser?
Yes. And
you would watch these people work their like behind off and work with trainers, doctors, etc. And even then, when they lost all those weight, they would end up gaining it back. So even with weight management, it is a forever thing. It's like you really do have to work at it. You have to develop a lifestyle that is going to be conducive for you, that's going to be aligned with whatever time frame that you have in your life, and what you go to work, you work out, whatever you're doing. Eating is important, but also the most important thing is what you're eating. Because weight management is a forever thing. It's not like a one shot. You could be the biggest person, you lose weight, you will still have to work at it, because now that because we're all born with a certain amount of fat cells. Yeah. And these fat cells will never leave you, unless, of course, you get liposuction. That's the only way to get rid of fat cells. But once they expand and they get used to a certain baseline, and you lose that weight, they'll shrink, right? They don't go away, they just shrink. But they're going to always be tempted to go back to that size that they were comfortable in.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a constant, forever thing that you have to work at. So, and like I said, you're dealing with it. I'm dealing with it. I mean, now for me, and I can talk for women out there who've had babies. I feel like I actually have never been happy with my body since I was like a younger kid. I think we spoke about that a little bit when we were at your podcast. Even in high school, I was super, super, super thinny, like the ideal skinny people may think, but I didn't feel like good. Like I was still very thin. Then I started gaining weight, and every time frame of my life, I've never been happy with my body. But now when I look back at photos and I'm like 21, 25, 27, 30, 35, I'm like, damn, I would kill for that body. What was wrong with that body? But it's something, it's, call it our environment of us growing up, call it the environment of the messages we got, growing up and how beauty is being skinny, looking a certain particular way. But
if it's any consolation, and this is a little bit of a confession, when I was your student at the college, I always thought you were an attractive woman, and I thought that your curves would just find the way they were. So,
yeah, but even though you may say that, but someone for me, I'm like, I've always struggled.
But that's my point, because you said earlier, like, I could be worried about my weight when somebody else could be looking at my hair or something.
Right, yeah.
So that's kind of like, reciprocal back to you. Like, when I was your student, I didn't necessarily see anything wrong with you. So.
Well, I just remember the thought that I, like, where I wanted to take this and why I mentioned that, like, my body. So I've always struggled with my body image, right, also. But now I would kill to have that body. But even now, I'm still not happy with where I want to be. But I still love my body because I'm like, damn, girl, you had 2 kids. I carried those children, and I'm proud of myself for that. You know what I mean? Something to be proud of, but like,
you have a strong temple.
Yeah, I'm like, shit, my body went through this and I did it. So I appreciate that my body, that I carried these 2 beautiful kids that are my world. Like, I love, like, obviously every mother loves her kids. I love my kids. And the fact that I have this body as a result of them, I'm also grateful for it, if that makes, that's what I was trying to bring back.
And to add to that, I would say that you also have the perfect partner that accepts you for who you are.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
So that's definitely a plus.
That's really important, obviously. Remember that Peloton commercial? Just made me think of it. It was like the woman who had the baby. I don't know if you remember, but there was a moment where Peloton had a commercial, and the woman had just had a baby, and then the husband goes and gets her a Peloton.
This, yes.
And everyone went crazy.
Yeah.
And they're like, he's just supporting her. But I was like, was he supporting her, or was he telling her, now it's time to lose some weight, girl, start looking good again?
I do remember that. I was kind of on the fence, because like I'm thinking, yeah, it's probably not the best way to promote it, but at the same time, I mean, what's wrong with taking care of your health?
Right now, you have to remember, millennials, we were growing up, we had magazines, right? We'd put the posters up on our wall. That's what we had. The generation now, they have access 24/7. So it's not like a monthly magazine that comes once a month to your house for you to look at these images that are going to mess with your head. Now it's 24/7. You can log on at 3 a.m. Guess what? You'll see the images. You
right
log
on your screen. Yep.
Yeah. And then you're picking up messages, right? And wealthy, skinny, fake hair, fake lashes, fake nails. That's the message young girls get. And they learn to equate their worth by having those things. But the work has to be internal. I think that's what the ultimate message is. Like, do the internal work and everything else will fall into place.
Yes. Do the work.
All right, so let me grab my phone because we've reached a segment called the Style Confessions, where I throw little lighthearted questions your way and see how you respond to them.
Interesting.
Alrighty. So if you could only wear one outfit for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Sweatpants.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Dark sweatpants.
I like that. Yeah, dark sweatpants. Call it a day and keep it moving.
Yeah.
What is the weirdest fashion trend you've tried?
So, a little bit of a backstory. There was a time in my life where I was trying to do music. It was in the mid-2000s, so this is when people were wearing like the bedazzled shit on their shirts and stuff like that. Not like Ed Hardy.
Yes, I remember those.
Not Ed Hardy or anything, but it was like something you can get from like the bodega or whatever, if it was affordable. And also like the hats, like the oversized hats that didn't even fit your head, but it looked stylish enough. But yeah, that's again, that just wasn't me.
All right. If your closet was a song, what song would it be?
My Life, Billy Joel.
Nice. Okay. What's your favorite sneaker brand?
Nike.
Just do it. All right. What fashion era do you wish would make a comeback?
The late 90s. I was actually very keen to the late 90s.
Yeah. I remember there was these boots, the Manolo Blahnik boots, that were like kind of the fusion of high heels and Timbs. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
I think J-Lo wore them in a video and everybody went crazy. I had a pair.
Okay.
How insane. I think I would want to wear those once.
Yeah, for me, it was more like Jay-Z. Like, he had the jean jacket and the pants and also the Timbs, and I just was, like, rocking it that way.
Do you remember Eastlands?
Vaguely.
When we were younger?
Vaguely.
Okay, well, there were these shoes, Eastlands. They were pretty hot, too. I would rock those again. I would get that. It was with Timbs, Eastlands, and, of course, Jordans. That's like I remember we were growing up. All right, what's your ultimate power color?
It would be black or really, really, really dark gray.
Okay. And if you could swap wardrobes with any celebrity, who would it be?
That's a very good question. Wow. I would probably have to say Derek Jeter. I always thought he had a very good sense of style and fashion.
Yes, okay, I see it. All right, Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me today. And again, this is our first podcast session, so I'm so honored. Thank you so much for having me, Maura.
I really appreciate it.
You'll have to come back on at some point.
Anytime.
Hopefully, when it's like your episode, when you're hitting 200, we have a big party. When I hit 200, yes. We'll bring you back and have a big party right here in Sky House Studios. A shout out to Sky House Studio out in Cranford.
Lovely space. Space here.
It's so peaceful here. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Laura. So shout out to you guys. Before we go, let us know where people could follow you.
So you can follow me, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jason Enrique on all social media platforms. First class, second place is available on all streaming platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, YouTube. I am also an actor. We never got into that really, but I am an actor, and you could also be on the lookout on my social medias of new projects that I got coming out: acting roles, voiceover work, more podcasts, and also some more sports talk. So yeah, that's everything. You can find me at I am Jason Enrique. Every single social media platform you think of, it's just I am Jason Enrique. That's where you
awesome. And I'll link it below for you guys in case you want to follow him and reach out and follow his projects. So I think you should end the episode with us doing a voiceover of some sort. Like what interesting voices do you do?
It's always mainly villainous because of the dark guttural sound that I have.
Listen, do it. Why not? Let us end it with this over voice that you're doing. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Psychoffashion Podcast. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Yay. All right, guys. Bye now.